So before we go into the news review, I bring in the boys Malik and Raymond. Good morning, Enimwa.
Good morning, Daniel. How
are you? Good morning,
Daniel.
I am blessed. Malik, I'm having some quality time with Enimwa this morning.
Oh, you mentioned my name too.
Anymore.
Yes. So I'm bringing you the NSMQ update for yesterday and what to expect today. I'm bringing it now, Raymond. Okay. Thank you. Good morning to you. Lovely to see you.
Please bring I think Raymond is jealous.
Okay, so the highlights from yesterday. T.I. Amas lost to Osino. So that was a giant slayer that emerged yesterday. They lost by 7 points. Also, Sunrise failed to glitter because they beat Opokuwari last year, but this year they were beaten by Pope John. So those were the two very interesting things that stood out yesterday. But yesterday, the winners who emerged were Pope John, Akwemuman SHS, St. John's SHS, Oti Boateng SHS, Oforipenyin SHS, and Osino Presby SHS. So today at the RS Amegashi building, you can expect Edinaman SHS versus Ahantaman versus Ola SHS in Ho. Then there's T.I. Amas versus Ganata versus Ganata versus Amantin SHS. And then you can expect Ghana SHS versus Atebubu versus Mount Sinai SHS as well. Right. That's in the RS Amegashi. And in the new N block, there's Laboni SHS versus Fafraha versus Kwabeng Anglican. Then there's Presby SHS, not Presec. This is in Kwetia versus Kajebi.
Did you want to say Kwabeng Anglican?
Yes, that's what I said. Okay. Presby SHS in Kwetia versus Kajebi Asafo SHS versus Techiman SHS. And then finally, GSTS versus Zion College versus Eduman SHS. Yeah. So that's what you can expect today. Some really exciting
especially
today.
The one with Ganata.
And the KJB.
The first one starts at 10, so there's 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 4 o'clock, and we'll bring you the updates, at least by the end of the day, and tomorrow morning as well.
Guys,
can tune in for your
NSMQ. We miss you. We miss
you. So you know, MFR Power is fasting for Ola girls, right?
They asked her to do video programs. She said no, she doesn't want to raise expectations.
No. She decided
that statement is incomplete. She doesn't want to raise expectations, so that when they win, which is a sure win, it will take everybody by surprise. Those were her words yesterday.
I
on
think
Newsnight.
Whether or not she had done the video, would be surprised by it.
It won't change anything.
I don't know about the rest. But all the best to the schools today.
All of them.
But you know what? Maybe if Joseph Opoku Gakpo had been fasting instead of doing videos, I don't know. But he went to Amas. That's all I'm saying.
It won't change much.
25 to go, guys. Let's go straight to the
Now, the Chronicle is reporting this morning. Go to court. MP spoke fun at Ayarega over fracas with Amidu, but. Okay, there's one about budget deficit being reduced to 3.9%. Alexander Afenyamarkin is the one saying it, but the minority is saying there's no money to service our debts. This according to Kesel Atufosin, the ranking member.
The Daily Guide newspaper has alarm blow. Sakawa boys hack banks. Teleco CK Tedam goes home. Oshiye under siege. Ofosu amp of phones, laptops, screen.
Now, the Business Finder is reporting this morning. Exploration taxes spark debate. Chamber wants removal. Experts divided. And Ghana-China business partnership is very crucial. This is Business Development Minister speaking there. Now, there's good news from the Zipline drone service end. Historic delivery, that's how the Finder puts it, of sickle cell medication. It's actually what's on the front page of the Business Finder.
The Daily Statesman newspaper has a very unfortunate headline here. HIV prevalence rate amongst pregnant women up 14%.
Over which period?
14%.
It's in the details of the story.
It's in the details of the story.
We'll get that later. But
other stories on the front page of the Daily Statesman newspaper. Leadership turns Cocoa from nightmare to success story. Akosombo was left to rot. Alan briefs Parliament on how MPP saved ATL from collapse.
Now, the Daily Heritage, and that's before Malik, that's a very nice paper. The Daily Heritage is actually talking about
on my newspaper
the IGP CID boss hot, summoned by angry judge over Gregor Foko bail issues, and he also releases stolen money recovered. And that's some documentary there. There's one about AI Ghana, Sudanese community, that's Amnesty International, Sudanese community petition ambassador over killing and abuse of human rights in Sudan. something the whole world is actually not paying attention to anyway.
Daniel, when I ask you Santo, Judas, Acrobeto, Ejaku, what do these names remind you of?
I told you.
all of them together. Concert party.
Great. Key Soap Concert Party is back.
Yes, sir.
It's been launched at the National Theatre. Now, at the launch, the board chair of the National Theatre, Nana Fridoya Ejman, says that kill pull him down syndrome in arts. He's advising persons who are in art to kill the pull him down syndrome.
Look,
that is a story on the front page of the graphic Showbiz.
I am shamelessly supporting concert party. That stuff was funny, man.
It was. Other stories on the front page of the Showbiz, which Raymond is very excited by, is I don't mind nude roles to serve a purpose. Guess who's saying that? Amake Abebrese and Alfred Okansi selected for Mandela Washington Fellowship.
You know,
Haley-
Nate is going with
Yes. So those are the stories on the front page of the Showbiz, and Raymond is looking at the very beautiful picture of Amake Abebrese on the front page of the Showbiz.
Raymond is looking at the front page of the next page.
Yeah, I lost interest. The Ghanaian Times is reporting this morning that power outage hits voter Oti Regis arrest. Prosecute workers management of are speaking to government about the route of the Ghana Bauxite Company, and there's terrible news on the front of illegal felon smuggling of rosewood. Now 200 containers of the thing that we have banned in this state was shipped out of Ghana between January 2018 and January 2019. 1 whole year we shipped 200 containers, even though we were purported to have banned the thing.
The demonstration of the mine workers is also on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Awasu Mines demonstrators will face law. That's according to the minister. Divers rescue FPSO Kwame Nkrumah worker who fell in ocean. Ensure protection of all residents. That's IGP directing police commanders. The lead story on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper is Martin Amidu speaks. Takes responsibility for defects in Ayarga's charge sheet. Back page of the Daily Graphic. Tier 2 semi-finals contest. Ash Gold put Kotoko to sleep in Accra. Nzima Kotoko oust Unistar Academy. Those are the stories.
The
here.
details now, and I can't believe there's gang violence in Ghana. People dying.
Yes, and this happened in Achimota. We brought you that story in the news yesterday. Of course, I mean, a man who on Monday night, yes, to be fair, was stabbed to death at Achimota following a clash between two gangs. The disease, identified only as Starboy, was rushed to the Achimota hospital, but he died on admission there. His brother said he was watching football when he saw what he suspected to be land gas causing trouble. So the clash led to the burning of at least 5 stores, and it took the intervention of the fire service to quench the fire from raging to other stores nearby, eventually becoming like a whole area kind of fire outbreak. Now, according to witnesses, Star Boys Group burnt a member of the other feuding faction to death about 3 months ago. And this Tuesday incident was a reprisal. So apparently some young men, misdirected, not properly schooled, have actually formed themselves into gangs. They sometimes play roles as land guards in the area because of the developments behind the Achimota Hills, and move on to actually constitute themselves into rival groups. So once in a while, you outdo each other by doing something extraordinary. The first extraordinary act was burning in the 21st century in Ghana a human being alive 3 months ago. And this is their reaction. They stabbed on him when he was watching football. They stabbed him several times. He didn't die there. They took him to the hospital before he died, and the police say that they are investigating the matter. I'm just wondering if, for example, the Achimota police knew about the previous incident. They were done enough investigation to arrest all the members of the other gang, find out, drill down to who more likely did this particular act, and maybe they would have prevented this reprisal from happening.
So for me, the worry is that, you know, the money that fueled gang violence in the US, even today, is the drug trade.
Yeah.
And the drug trade, people get money to buy guns, and then it gets more violent. So in Ghana, it's land guards and land wars.
Yeah.
And you would imagine there's not much economic benefit here.
Yeah.
Because
There is for them, for unemployed young men who are given monies by landowners who are often very rich and well-to-do men. And then they also double as sometimes vigilantes for any purpose.
And these guys become criminals in areas. They actually rob people and all of that. So it's a very terrible thing, and we need to deal with it holistically.
And look at the land issue, which is becoming the enabler for this gang violence. Anyway, Malik.
Let's go to the ocean, right, where somebody was rescued. Now, a subcontractor working with Tallow Oil Ghana, that's on the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, escaped death. That's according to a story by Moses Doche Kwabla Akrobotu of the Daily Graphic. Now, this person, who is believed to be a South African, was working when he fell from the massive vessel into the high current waters of the Atlantic Ocean in the oil exploration enclave of offshore Jubilee Cape 3 Points. Now, it took divers 10 minutes to rescue him, and the operators said they did not affect their operations, but they were excited that immediately it happened, the divers were there. They don't know what happened. He didn't show any signs of depression, but for some strange reason he just fell off the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, and then he still wore his life jacket. Nonetheless, it took the divers 10 minutes. They were able to rescue him, and it didn't affect operations, and they are excited that all of the measures they put in place, and I personally know persons who have joined the oil companies, and it is compulsory for them to go for swimming lessons, every single one of them, especially those who go to the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, who go to where the rigs are. You must compulsorily learn how to swim. So this person was trained, but the rescuers were there to save the person. It tells you how much some of these companies put in terms of safety, health and safety and all
Which
of
is
that.
exactly what I was going to come to. Every industrial company of Ghana should have a functioning safety policy, should have people who are there as safety officers, and should generally update their workers' skills.
Absolutely.
It also behoves on governments to ensure that our occupational health and safety policy is passed into law, and it hasn't yet. So years of being, on the books. I remember I was at a program in Takrady somewhere in 2015 where a representative of the then employment minister said, we'll make sure we pass the occupational health and safety bill. Yeah, that's not been done yet. Anyway, we want to move to international affairs, and Raymond is always the man on that.
Yes. Now, the police have been deployed to protect Nigerian traders in Kumasi. You know the fracas that happened yesterday. We understand, according to reports, that some people had ransacked the place, even though the police promised the day before to protect and help the Nigerians open their markets. Some people specifically went out there to prevent them from doing so. So the gravamen of the problem is pretty simple. Our laws, according to Section 29 of the GIPC Act, is pretty clear that the Nigerians have no business in that petty trading space in the markets. And that if the Nigerians are able to raise the requisite amount of money, they should not even be in the markets in the first place.
But we want to change the
on
law.
the other side, the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme is pretty clear about how trade integration is important, how openness and free trade is the way forward, and how we should be encouraging that between states. Now, yesterday, the MPs have been meeting GIPC, they've been meeting national security, they've been meeting the trade ministry, and the idea is that why don't we align, which is the expectation mostly of international law, that when you have a law that you sign on to, ratify by parliament by aligning our local laws. Like when we went to the International Charter on Children and stuff, we came to put together a Children's Act that reflected that particular one. So the thinking of the MPs, at least according to Agaga and his committee chairperson, they are going to make amendments to this GIPC Act so that it can reflect what the standard of international law is. On the other side, the Nigerians seem to be very livid. They are diasporan, relations.
Nigeria's in Diaspora Commission CEO Abike Dabiri Erewa was speaking to Israel Live yesterday.
This problem has been there for a long time. It is a shame that it's still happening. I told you that just yesterday, this same issue, a delegation came to thank President Buhari for intervening with his counterpart in Ghana. 400 shops were locked up. This didn't start yesterday.
And Abike Dabiri will be hearing that full interview here on the Super Morning Show that she had. It was very, very interesting, very revealing. And I think that it tells us the sentiment of the Nigerian community and how we must relate with them.
Just to be fair, she didn't sound diplomatic to me at all. Just like the way I thought about the statement from the Nigerian High Commissioner to Ghana too. I did not know, but everything about diplomatic communication and
Right.
practice was thrown out of the
Wait,
window.
how about we hear her and then we talk?
Okay.
One person who has spoken is
I have been
about
gagged. I wanted to say something on that as well. But let me do Sakawa boys who are hacking into banks and telcos. Now, the Daily Guide is reporting that 86 Ghanaian top companies have had their login credentials sold out to criminals to perpetrate fraud against the country. This affects institutions, financial institutions, banks, telecom sector, IT companies, and even state institutions have all been victims of this sale of credentials. Now, it is the director in charge of cyber crimes unit at the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service, Dr. Gustav Herbert Janssen, who made this known. And he said that some criminals are hacking into such sensitive systems with ease and are getting access to sensitive data of those institutions. Now, yes, I think within the week, when I was reviewing the cybercrime statistics in Ghana, I made mention about 2017 alone, about $28 million was stolen from banks in Ghana through cybercrime.
Yep.
This is exactly what Dr. Gustav Janssen is confirming. Now, he says he has been informed that the login details such as passwords as soon as possible are given out to these criminals and they have access. He actually said that the FBI of the United States is conducting an investigation into the activities of these cyber criminals and will furnish the information with the Ghanaian authorities here. But Dr. Janssen says the FBI have found out that many of the passwords used by these institutions are very weak and some just use figures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and A, B, C, D, E. Those are some of the passwords that people use. He said these are very, very weak and they are very easy to hack and very easy to access and very easy to use them.
The bigger cause for concern for me is that it's not just about people not being vigilant enough with the passwords that they set up, but just being plain negligent. Because sometimes some people just give out their passwords themselves to their colleagues. Their colleagues may have malicious intent.
Yeah.
You know that a study has shown that 74% of companies fear inside threats more, with 7% reporting of being extremely vulnerable to insider threats. Sometimes it's just negligence that causes some of these things. And so let's train our employees more, and employees should also be more vigilant.
So that's what the police have done. The police have informed these companies that they should change all their passwords. Every single one of them, because these passwords were sold to the companies between October 2014 and January 2019. So that's why they have been informed. Change all your passwords. And I think even individuals and other institutions who have not been affected must change all their passwords. Use very hard, difficult passwords. It helps you to secure your institutions and your business.
Alrighty, and all of that will lead to economic growth, we hope.
Yes, the economy actually grew by 6.7% in the first quarter of this year. This is compared to the 4.2% previous year. So we did a little bit better than what was the case when we compared it to the previous year.
2018.
But yes, where did the growth really? This quarter analysis. Anyway.
Before you go to the
oil
details of the
again?
growth, how does it compare to our targets for the year? Because our target is very ambitious.
Okay, yes, but it's within that range. Our target is like 6.7% end year. So it's within that particular
The
range.
one that outspaces the IMF's target.
No. I mean, we actually set a target lower than what the IMF gave us finally.
Okay.
So that's the difference in this particular case. Now, the reality on the ground is that the growth is coming from specifically the services sector, which expanded by some 7.2%. And if you look at an area like information and communication, it expanded by 37%. And that's where the big time growth was actually coming
Telecoms.
from. Yes,
Telecoms.
information and communication. Now, if you look at the other area within the services, which is not doing very well, which is finance and insurance subsector, it only grew by 2% in
But
this
it
case.
tells a story, doesn't it?
Luckily, it is even growing. In 2017, it was a negative 17%. So you see,
2017 was
yes,
17%.
yes. That finance and insurance sector, that's how problematic the subsector was. So now, moving on to the other important parts that you should know about. The livestock sector led growth in agric with some 5.5%, and industry shows some slight improvements with 8.4% for the first quarter of this particular year. Now, the mining and quarrying sector, which subsector is the the oil sector, is what led the growth in industry in this particular case. The expectation is that since we are starting on a good path, we may achieve end year target. But of course, there are so many factors that sometimes derail important targets when they start from this note. On the other side, the producer price inflation fell slightly to 6.7%.
I want to bring a controversial point in here.
Yes, please.
When will we start tracking number of jobs created and not economic growth?
Yeah, when you start having reliable data.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have agreed that the statistical service last month, they did some pilot or so, was going to do month-to-month, what they call it, employment tracking. They call it labor service. We always have labor service like at 2 years or once in 3 years, and mostly we wait until we do the living standard service before we add it to the labor service.
Malik, it will surprise you the amount of data we have if we just digitize it. It will surprise you. We actually have data. Look at all these public services.
I agree. I get your point. Yeah.
We have a lot of data in the system. We keep telling ourselves that we don't.
But if
we can do it.
If we are struggling
Why
to
is
put,
it?
We have we have a lot of data. It's not centralized.
That's the point.
Let me
If
give you a
have
typical
scattered
example.
data all over the place.
GCB Bank knows about, I can say confidently, knows about 80% of the people who are hired in the public sector. Ghana Education Service, they have about 600,000 workers on their payroll. If you go to GRA, they have about 1.25 million people on the tax.
Yeah.
What we need to do is unify
They are the same
these
institution that
databases.
tell us about ghost names, right? So
course
when you
there'll
have
be
ghost
margin
names,
of
when you
error.
have ghost names on all of these your payrolls, how can you even trust it? Is
As-
it reliable?
as for
My
margin
point
of error,
was
it's
when we
there.
have reliable data, is our data reliable?
You have to start
That is
from
the
somewhere.
point.
You have to start from
There
somewhere.
are people who
Start
have
from
left
somewhere.
their offices years and their names are still on the payroll.
You have a
Let me
point,
do
though.
Martin Amidu, who is taking responsibility for the defects.
In 30 seconds,
The
Malik.
defects on the Mama Yarga charge sheet. He says that, all we had to do was to make sure that our particulars meet the standard. You know that some 3 charges that were brought against Mama Yarga were struck up by the High Court, that those charges did not indicate, their particulars did not indicate that they had anything to do with corruption and corruption-related offences, which is the mandate of the Special Prosecutor's Office.
Okay,
And
okay.
it was on the basis of that they were struck out. Martin Amidi takes responsibility. He said it does not mean that they are incapable of investigating matters relating to forex trading and Customs Act.
All right then. Thanks, Malik. We're going online, and the online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank in your best interest and Goil Good Energy. You can make your day productive by relying on quality fuel from Goil, your 3-time CIMG Petroleum Company of the Year. Goil Super XP and Diesel XP are additivated to enhance strong engine performance and prolong the lifespan of your vehicle. Above all, you're guaranteed extra quality with our fuel analyzer from our mobile laboratory van. Get your money's worth every day by buying fuel and lubricants from any of Goil's over 360 service stations nationwide and experience good energy. Buy Goil, grow Ghana. Goil, good energy. Goil. Yanara Yedia. Now, when it comes to traveling with ease and comfort, Zenith Bank's wide array of MasterCard and Visa cards will help you do just that. You can conveniently use your Zenith Bank MasterCard and Visa cards at over 33 million ATMs nationwide or worldwide, on the internet for online purchases and payments and in so many other avenues. Sign up today, or if you already have one, use a Zenith MasterCard and Visa cards for a great travel experience. Zenith Bank in your best interests. Ekufado's Jamaica visa waiver comments undermine Parliament, Major Online says. That's Ablakwa speaking there. International environmental organizations join opposition to mine in Itiwa Forest. Adumo Online has an audio of prostitutes and junkies who are taking over Asumdwe Park. That's the John Evans Tamils Asumdwe Park. And the FIFA Secretary General Samura is in line for the Africa role. That's the BBC.com. Still live on the Super Morning Show. We'll be right back.